Let's see if I turn this light off. All right. Make sure to comment your name in the comments so that you are able to check in for attendance purposes on Alma. I just want to make sure that if you are present, you don't get marked absent and you don't lose simple attendance points that could be avoided. Hello, Joanna Marie. What's up, Chief? All right. I'm trying to set this up in a way that allows you guys to see best. Okay. Yes, I am using my cat tower as my easel today. Hello, Elise Marie. How are you? I'm gonna give people about 7 minutes to get in, just because class does officially start at 11. So prior to that, I will make sure they are okay, and I will fix my stuff at the same time. All right. What's up, Jasmine? How are you? I know the text is displayed backwards, so I'm going to read off each section, and then I will make sure to also comment what I write on the board in the comments. Natalie Coelho, what is Natalie Nieves' email so I can send it to her? Because I thought I had everyone's emails in that share. Oh, so it's not backwards. It's only backwards on my screen. Awesome. All right, so then I will bring this closer so that it is hopefully in better focus. All right, just send it to Natalie Nieves. Can you guys hear me fine? Is it staticky? I have another microphone if needed. Yes, Joanna Marie, you're going to need your notebooks. We're just waiting about 2-3 more minutes to start so that other students have the opportunity to come in. What's up, Nate? Awesome, Jasmine. Cool. This drink is good. Smoothie. Very good. All right. 2 more minutes. Also, depending on how you guys are feeling today and depending on how much time we have by the end, if you guys would still like to do a music analysis, I do have a few songs available. We can discuss it. I don't know if there's going to be a delay from it playing and what you guys hear. Just let me know, but I'll make sure to get that going if you guys are interested. Hey, Tamaya. And Nat Dog McFly. What's up, Natalie? So we're just waiting for Alex and Tanisha, I believe. If anyone has their number, if you could just text them real quick, that way we can get going. If they're not in by 11:05, I'm just gonna go with the class, just so you guys know. Oh, and Samaya, yes, you're right. I don't think they have a phone. Okay. We're going to be reviewing chapter 3 because that's what was due before the break. We will be doing chapter 4 this week. That way, come next class, you have it done and ready to discuss, as well as talk about any literary terms and analysis that we are going to do for that chapter. So today is chapter 3 of Great Gatsby. This is an intro day. Since a lot of you guys were under the impression that it starts next week, I'm going to give you guys that bit of time to review those assignments that I gave you if you want to get some of them out of the way. The chapter guides, those chapter packets, I do want you guys to do the week that we are teaching them. That way we could go over it together. If anyone has questions, they can all be addressed at the same time instead of one-on-one basis as needed. Sorry if you hear anything crazy. My cat is over here. That's fine, Nate. You can do chapter 4. You can do your reading ahead of time. That's fine. I'm talking about those other chapter packets that were from the textbook. Those are the ones that I want you guys to wait for until next week. Anything else, you're more than welcome to get a jump start on. I encourage it. I don't mind you guys getting your work done if you want extra flexibility and free time. Just make sure that when we are going over it in the stream, you ask any questions that you may have. I have copies of these assignments, so I'll be able to pull them up and look at them with you guys as you're going on. All right, so I'm gonna just take it that Tanisha and Alex are not going to be in today. That's okay. So next, we are going to be going into chapter 3 analysis for The Great Gatsby. All right. So in chapter 3, we see a little bit of insight in Gatsby's party life, how present or not present he is, and how the people in East and West Egg differ, and how noticeable it is even within this enclosed environment of Gatsby's home. Gatsby is this enigma to the people of East and West Egg, yet people consistently show up to his house for a good time. We know that there's a ton of rumors that are spread about Gatsby, each party, and people have very little information on this background of who Gatsby is, and that's kind of what makes him so enigmatic and elusive. That's kind of what makes him so cool. And as we go on, you're going to see how, unfortunately, that lack of information on Gatsby kind of comes back to like bite him in the butt. Natalie, yes, you can send pictures of your work and email it to me, but just make sure in the one email, if it's a packet, you send the whole packet in that email, not just one picture in one email, one picture in another email. All in one email, please. All right. So, Chapter 3, The Great Gatsby. We see a few different literary terms that we've been using right in the beginning. We see metaphor and simile usage, we see hyperboles, we see flashbacks, and we also see a little bit of foreshadowing. We're going to start with some metaphor and simile use, and then I'm going to ask a few questions about on looking to chapter 4 for those who may have already read it, just so that you know what to look out for once you get there. So, first off, I would like us to think about this question. All right. So, first thing I want us to discuss is when they say, and I like large parties, they're so intimate. At small parties, there isn't any privacy. When we read that, we would look at that and say, well, in a way that doesn't make sense, but I guess it could, depending on the type of person you are. So, what do you guys think they're talking about, or what do you think they're feeling when they make a statement such as, I like large parties, they are so intimate. At small parties, there isn't any privacy. Gatsby parties all the time. So, if we think of Gatsby's parties as always being big, extravagant, we can get a feeling that his part of the egg, the East egg, where the rich old money is, they can throw these extravagant galas, these extravagant parties with jazz players, acrobats, musicians, dancers, etc. Where when we reflect to the chapter before with Tom and Myrtle, they have a West Egg party, which is more of a get together, a social arrangement with a few friends, and it's a little bit more low key, more hush hush. The last word says privacy, privacy. I'm sorry, I ran out of space at the end. I'm sorry if it looks a mess. So Joanna Marie says, I think she's saying that she can be whoever she wants to be because no one's watching and no one cares at a party. That's a good response. I'm going to elaborate on that further in a second. Let's see. You notice everyone at a small party. That's a really good insight as well, Tamaya. If you want to go under the radar in this East and West Egg dynamic, someone like a Tom Buchanan may like a large party more than a small party because he can just blend in the background where there may be more high profile individuals or more important people that are garnering the attention, especially in a house like Gatsby's. I like that answer, Natalie. That if we mix Joanna Marie's response and Natalie's response together, that basically hits it right on the head. At large parties, there are going to be more people that you don't know than you do know, more often than not, right? And then on top of that, you don't necessarily have to talk to everyone. So you can be literally whoever you want to be for person A, and then person B across the building may get a totally different story depending on who they're trying to impress, who they're trying to butter up. We have to remember that it is the 1920s, so appearances are everything. Wealth, sets you up to be, this amazing person, but as soon as you lose that wealth, people kind of write you off and forget about you. And it's kind of sad. Kind of shows a lack of genuine connection between the people in the 1920s of East and West Egg. And yes, I did see that on your packet. I did grade your packet. I did give you a correct mark on that. And let's see what Nate put. Large parties that can be more engaged without being noticed. That is very true. Jasmine, let's see what you have. I think it means when you're at a big party, no one really pays attention to you. But if you're at a small party, then more people will pay attention to what you're doing. Absolutely. So when we're thinking about this, when we think of this setting, Gatsby, his party, this privacy that we're talking about, right? At this large party, do you think maybe this is part of the reason why Jay Gatsby is still so mysterious? People still are spreading all of these rumors about him because in the mix of things, you didn't even get an invite. You show up. Who's throwing this party? There's so many people at this party. How do we know who is who if we don't have that initial connection? What are some of the things they called Gatsby? Do you guys remember from chapter 3? Or some of the things that they said about him, some of these rumors? Yes, a spy. He killed a man. What else? Where did they think he was a spy for? A war man, a killer, yep. Who did they think he was a spy for? Soldier, killer, yep. Those are all great answers. All right. No, not Russia. Not Russia. Think of the 1920s. Who were we in conflict with during that time? Germany. Yes. Germany. Thank you, Elise Marie. Natalie Nieves, if you don't know who we were in conflict with in the 1920s, I'm going to have to talk to Miss Schatz. But yes, so they thought he was a German spy. They thought he was a killer, that he had murdered a man. And a lot of these claims are outlandish and unfair. But him being a war man is something that he has a connection with someone in this chapter. Yes, it's very, very goofy. But he has a connection with our protagonist, Nick Carraway, right? Nick Carraway is his neighbor, and they haven't really had many opportunities to connect, to get to know each other up until this point. When Nick goes upstairs and goes to his library, he sees the guy that we see throughout this chapter called Owl Eyes, right? He was called Owl Eyes, and this man was impressed by Gatsby's expansive library, right? This library that Gatsby has impresses him because not only is it large, but what other feature does it have to it that he doesn't typically see in most people's libraries when they are this large? Yes, the doctor dude, Elise Marie. The drunk doctor guy. The books. Yes, the books are all real. Okay? So, we have this one analyzed, picked apart, but there's a little bit more to this that I want to add, right? We see Gatsby as this mystery man. Do you think maybe these large parties are a bigger ploy? Why do you think he throws these large parties that are intimate but not really making connection with the people? Why do you think he separates himself? Why do you think he social distances himself at his own parties? Yes, the books were real. What do you think these parties are really for? Yes, yes, Joanna Marie and Nate, to get Daisy's attention. Absolutely. That's why people don't get invites. People just show up, and he's hoping the right person shows up. Natalie Coelho, he is observant. He is very observant, but he is observant for one thing and one thing only in these moments. That's why he separates himself, because he's not really interested in the lavish, the flapper women, everyone else out there. He has one woman in mind, one reason to throw these parties. He already knows he has the money. He's not here to impress people. He's not here to give the truth to those that want it. He is just here to draw out his diamond in the rough, and that diamond is Daisy. Yes, correct. Good job, Natalie. And yeah, Tamai, he really is not like them. Gatsby has this mysterious aura of being this rich man, but no one really knows how he's gotten this money, how he's come to this notoriety and this old money East Egg mentality. So that's something you want to pay attention to as the story goes on, because that does come to bite him in the butt later on. No, I didn't forget, Natalie. I do know that Miss Schatz showed you the movie already, unfortunately. All right. So, next thing I would like to discuss and analyze is, this was a question in your packet, and I want you guys to look a little bit deeper into this, because out of everyone, only one person gave me the appropriate response I was looking for in regards to this very analytical question. Okay. I'm going to write this in a different ink so it stands out more. My cat just jumped up. If you didn't see him, guys, that's Karma. Elise Marie, did they send a folder home with you with the physical copies? Or if you're talking about your chapter 3, you can just take pictures and email. Joanna Marie, chapter 4, 5, and 6 are on Alma all together in chapter 4. Since I gave you your chapter 4 packet all together with 5 and 6, if you open up chapter 4, 5 and 6 will be there. All right, let me write this question down for you guys so we know what we're going to be discussing next. All right. So the next part is, what do you think they mean when they say dishonesty in a woman is a thing you never blame deeply? Sorry if I'm in the way. Guys, try to keep your comments appropriate. Please, Nate. Are you guys trying to call Mr. Garlic through the Google Voice phone number that he provided? I would recommend emailing him if you're unable to connect. That way, maybe he can touch base with you first if you're feeling a little bit awkward trying to do that. Natalie, everybody is dishonest at one point. Sure, that's a very broad statement, but we want to hone in more on the specifics of this statement. No, it's not actually because of Jordan being independent. Being independent, I believe, in the grand scheme of things, would make this woman less of a dishonest person, more truthful, more honest. If we think about her being independent, what is something she doesn't have as a stressor, or something she doesn't currently focus on or have to worry about in her life compared to someone like a Daisy? Yes. All right, elaborate on that a little bit, Tamaya. Women go through a lot of things. Absolutely. So elaborate on that. Yes, Natalie Coelho, a man. Keep building on that. Give me more specific answer. Give me a more specific answer. That is, you're building up to it, and it's great. A husband. So, Joanna Marie, what is something that Daisy's husband does that could lead to maybe some dishonesty or some feeling of needing to cover up because maybe they don't feel as secure being honest with them as they should? Jasmine, that is almost exactly it. Add in a little bit of what Elisa Marie and Joanna Marie just commented, and you guys are going to hit it right on the head. In the 1920s, women dealt with a lot of stuff. Yes, it was a progressive time in our history, but in this time, we also had still like the woman's role of, being homemaker. Yes, you have more independence. Yes, you have a voice, but not a lot of men at that time were really mainstream with it. So this dishonesty in women, you can never really blame them because unfortunately, maybe they've gone through a lot of turmoil and tragedy with men. For example, with Daisy and Tom. Maybe Daisy isn't as ignorant to Tom's cheating as we would think. Or maybe she is dishonest because maybe she doesn't feel necessarily truly safe around Tom. Tom has this alpha male mentality, right? Where if you aren't a white male and you aren't rich, you're seen as less. You're not even seen as on his level and worth talking about. In chapter 1, Nick Carraway is talking about his want to be a bondsman and making money that way. And the first thing that Tom says is he's never heard of anyone who does that, meaning he's never heard of a rich bondsman. So this dishonesty in women really comes from the way they were marginalized and treated, the way they are respected or a lack of respect in their homes at the time, as well as a lot of the infidelity that comes with, unfortunately, this lifestyle that they have, consistently partying, keeping up with appearances, the stresses of just wanting to impress people, even when you really don't have to. I feel that one thing they really failed to notice back then is they had all this money, they had the ability to do all these things, but they kind of squandered it and allowed that to be who they were instead of allowing that to be an accessory piece in who they are. So when we say dishonesty in women is a thing you never blame deeply, it's because we can blame it more on the men and the experiences that they have had until this point, which has led to this dishonesty. I believe a recording of this video will be available at the end. So if you wanted to write that down in notes, you should be able to rewind and play that later. Is it all right if I erase this so we can move on to the next thing? Does everyone have that down? I got one yes. Yeah? All right, work. All right. So, next thing I want to talk about is some of the metaphor and simile use. All right. So, metaphor and simile use in this chapter, they use it to really build a lot of imagery in the chapter. Tamaya, you don't necessarily have to write down any of the analysis stuff. A lot of the stuff you're going to want to write down are going to be like notes on how to use hyperboles, metaphors, and similes, the specifics on flashbacks, and things of that nature. And then when we get into those chapter packets, the ones that are from the textbook, those are going to be where you're going to be doing a brunt of your note taking. All right. That way you can take the information in there, put it in your own words. That way you can retain it and it makes sense to yourself. You got that? Awesome. All right. So if you guys have your books by you, if you guys could turn to chapter 3, what are some of the metaphors and similes that are used in this chapter to build, I guess, imagery around a specific person, an event, or an environment? I'm going to grab my book and I will be right back. That way we can discuss this. I will look at your comments. Chapter 3 starts on page 39, and there are some similes and metaphors right on the first page. All right, I'm going to write the definitions down. That way, if you don't know what to look for, you're able to find it. Yes. The men and the girls came and went like moths. That was a simile. Good job. I will move out of the way as soon as I'm done writing. I'll be reading it off to you. That way, if you can't see, you can write it down. All right. Simile uses like or as. Metaphors just apply two different objects into their description where they're not necessarily literally applicable. So the men and girls came and went like moths. Coming to what? Like a moth? A moth comes to this light, right? So this light would be Gatsby's party. They come and go as they please. They are attracted to the music, the light, the sound, etc. But they leave just as quickly as they came if they so choose. What else? What's another one, guys? Look into the chapter a bit. So if we go to page 43, 42 and 43. If you go on page 42 and 43, all right, at the, I guess what the sentence would start at the bottom of 41. It says, "You've dyed your hair since then," remarked Jordan. And I started. But the girls had moved casually on, and her remark was addressed to the premature moon, produced like the supper, no doubt, out of a caterer's basket, right? The moon itself is not cooking, so it can't cater, right? It is not someone that, again, it talks about a caterer's basket. It's not a caterer. It can't cook, and it doesn't work for a giant catering company. But they describe it as it brings something to them. This light of the moon brings something to them that is being addressed in that moment by Jordan. Okay? The use of metaphors and similes are going to paint pictures for you, the onlooker, in creative ways to really capture you and engage your story. All right? The people come and go from the party is a lot less picturesque and a lot less descriptive and engaging than saying men and girls came and went like moths. You kind of get the idea of that they're flying real close, leaving, going back, etc. So, metaphor and simile are going to be great figures of speech that you can utilize to doctor up your writing, make it really beautiful, expressive, creative. And that's what F. Scott Fitzgerald uses to his advantage. As we expressed when we first started this book, he was a failed writer for a long time. And similar to Gatsby, Owl Eye Spectacles, yes, he isn't actually an owl, right? But what do you think of when you think of Owl Eye Spectacles? What do you think his eyes look like? What do you think his eyes look like, Natalie? Exactly. Big, round, almost like magnified if you've seen Mr. Owl on the Tootsie Pop commercials. That's exactly what he's going to look like. The Blue Garden. I like that you brought that up, Elise Marie. What do you think this Blue Garden could exemplify for maybe Gatsby since it's in his home? Big observing eyes. Good job. Yes, an owl. He looks like an owl. He's not an owl, but he sure as heck looks like one. But Elise Marie, what do you think about that Blue Garden? Yes, great responses. What else? What else? Give me a little bit more detail other than loneliness or sadness. The thing he wants. Okay. What else? With a character like Gatsby, it seems like he has everything. So for someone to crave more or feel like they don't have or want have all of their wants, it shows that maybe not everything material is what is of note or matter to Gatsby. Yes, Elise Marie. Daisy, he does not want Daisy to disappear. We've already talked about the green light at the end of the dock being his symbol to like go for his dreams. His dream is out of reach just across the water, but green light always means go, right? So he wants to go reach out and seize this one want of his that he's had his whole life, and that's Daisy. Make sure you take your metaphor and simile notes if you need them. Let me know if I can erase. Yes, Blue, he is sad. And I want you guys to reflect on this. Gatsby's a grown man. Do you think it's a little immature of him to be so stuck on Daisy, or do you think maybe there's another layer to him that we just don't know? And what do you think that is? Yes, Blue is sad. I know we did the psychology of colors, so it's good that you guys remembered that. All right. So, guys, I'm going to put two literary terms up here. Oh, good. Good thought, Joanna Marie. Maybe he misses what he had before. And maybe he does have serious issues, right? He's a grown man who's stuck on a single person. Maybe it's an obsession. We don't know. At least not yet. Yes, he does, Natalie. Elise Marie, that's a great response because that is something that he would love to be able to do. Similar to F. Scott Fitzgerald, they had really rough pasts, right? They were not these rich men that we know them to be, these successful men. So maybe he does wish he could rewrite his past so that he would be able to move forward or have this credibility behind his name without all of the lies. I have no idea who that is, but we're just going to keep going. Can anybody here tell me what a flashback or foreshadowing is? Jasmine, I like that response of him being a little bit immature in this craving of Daisy, but maybe he did have his true connection. Do you think, though, his immaturity shows just because think about how many people are coming through his door on a daily basis and how many opportunities he has to build connections. Why do you think he doesn't broach those opportunities? Why do you think he's so socially distant from everyone else and is so worried about Daisy herself? Remembering a part in time that you want to revisit. Absolutely. There's points in life we experience it in our everyday reality, right? Maybe there was something that happened as a kid that you just wish you could go back to that moment. That moment was something you will always remember. Well, at that point, that may be where someone who isn't over the past or maybe has something wrong lingers and connects to that and forms their reality around that thought. So don't worry about them, guys, just because it's going to mess up our comment flow. And I'm reading off your comments to be able to respond with you guys. Foreshadowing is like being warned before something happens, or just a warning or an indication, right, of just the future events of the book, right? Yes. All right. So, Joanna Marie, the fact that he doesn't care about anyone else, right? And he wants this dream to be accomplished. What does this say necessarily about the quote unquote American dream, right? He's got the money, he's got the success, he's got the house, he's got the notoriety, but maybe his American dream isn't a physical thing that you need to invest in monetarily. Maybe it's a person. And this shows that in the 1920s, where people were really making the American dream their own, finding ways to invest in new business, new enterprise, etc., and really make the world their oyster, this allows them to give almost like a different perspective, right? Gatsby's American dream isn't all of this lavish. He would put it all on the line for the one thing he wants more than anything, and that would be Daisy. So, foreshadowing, again, we have it in the comment stream, but I'm going to write it up here for you guys. Foreshadowing is a warning or indication of future events. Where do we see some foreshadowing? Elise Marie and Nate, please focus. Please focus. All right. I need you guys to, again, not mess up the stream because there's going to be people responding to questions and then there's going to be all this extra commentary now. And it makes it a little bit harder to get through. So, foreshadowing and then flashback is a look back at past events. All right. So, where do we see a flashback in this chapter, guys? Or maybe in chapter 4 for those who've read chapter 4 already. Where do we see either of these in any of the chapters that we've gone through? Hello? Anybody? Come on, we only have a few more minutes left. Anybody? All right. The question was, in any of the chapters 1 through 4 or 1 through 3, for those who haven't gotten a chapter 4, where can you see examples of flashbacks or foreshadowing to future events? Jordan cheating? Elaborate on that a little bit, Tamaya. Is that foreshadowing? Is it a flashback? What would you say Jordan's cheating would be? The drinking and the broken nose. Um, are you saying that foreshadows to something later on? The worrying again. Give me what you think it's foreshadowing or it's a flashback to? Because for foreshadowing, the worrying and the drinking and the broken nose, what do you think that foreshadows later on? Yes, great job. Flashback when Nick talks about his life before New York, when he's talking about his life in the Midwest, how he came here, when he's thinking back, and we are taken to that setting. Great job. That's a good one. When Nick learns the history of Gatsby and Daisy, cinematically, there's definitely a flashback. And in the text, we can say it's a flashback because he does put enough detail in there to where you can almost paint this picturesque setting of this is exactly what Gatsby was feeling, maybe seeing and experiencing while he was in the heat of love with Daisy before their lives took this change, before Tom came in, swooped in, and married her because he had money. Foreshadowing that she's going to get in trouble with Wilson. Okay. Um, I believe that we can say yes. Myrtle's nose being broken is something that we could say foreshadows to a bad ending in the end of the book, for sure. Maybe not just necessarily with Wilson, but with the Buchanans in general, right? She gets hit. All right. So we have this, and then we only have about 5-10 minutes left. So I'm going to move past flashback and foreshadowing. If you have the definitions down, we will discuss that more another time. I just want to make sure we get to hyperbole before the end because those are the talking points that I wanted to have today. So do you guys all have this? All right, Elise Marie, make sure you get this done. I'll keep it up for 1 more minute. All right. Give me some examples of hyperboles if you know a hyperbole. What's a hyperbole, guys? Hyperbole. What is a hyperbole? No one? All right. So a hyperbole is an overly exaggerated statement. Make sure that you know that these statements are not to be taken literally. Okay? Yes, it is a figure of speech. So, what are some hyperboles you can think of? I know there's a. Yes, the description of Daisy's voice is hyperbole, right? What else? For some examples for you guys of a hyperbole, I'll put up here for yourself. All right, so some examples of hyperbole. Yes, owl eyes, overly exaggerated statements. Good job. This bag weighs a ton, right? Does the bag actually weigh 2,000 pounds? No, but it's heavy. Okay, as a son of God. When he describes him that way, I believe he may be talking about his religious affiliation, but I could see how you could glamorize or exaggerate that. Another example would be, this is the worst day of my life. Is it actually the worst day? Are you alive? Are you dead? If you died, maybe it is the worst day of your life. But if you're alive and well, I think it has a lot of room to err to the negative side still. That is a good question, Joanna Marie. So Joanna Marie asked, would the parties that Gatsby throws be an example of hyperbole? Well, let's think about it. Gatsby's parties are large, lavish, very intricate in regards to musicians, acrobats, dancers. But what would we say Gatsby is through all of this? Where is Gatsby during this time, and what does he do while others are partaking in this party lifestyle? So, he's watching everyone and waiting for Daisy, right? So, these overly exaggerated parties are described to the masses to bring people in, right? These parties are blown out of proportion, and people from all over New York are interested and say, we need to go to Jay Gatsby's parties. I hear this, and this goes on there, and it sounds like an experience. We need to go, right? So we have that. When they get there, does it live up to the hype? Sure. But for Gatsby, this party that is so extravagant, so entertaining, doesn't have the same effect for him. Do you think it's because maybe that party isn't as extravagant as the people may describe it? Or do you think that maybe it's a personal interpretation of the party because the one party favor that he wants has not walked through the door? Yeah, guys. I won't say it's a hyperbole, Joanna Marie, but I like that you posed that question because yes, his parties are dramatic. They are very extravagant. So those aren't necessarily exaggerations. Those are true to description. But in the eyes of Gatsby, if we were to look through his lens, he would, let's say, be bored or disinterested with these parties. So maybe they aren't as lavish and exciting as they seem. But honestly, they're really not that lavish and extravagant to him because the one person that he wants to be there is not there. So it's more of a personal preference at that point. Guys, we have to wrap up because I know you guys have a class at noon, I believe. So we will meet back next Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We will go over chapter 4. We will go over those packets. And there will be a bit more note taking because it's going to be stuff outside of the book. To wrap up, what do you mean his lies, Elise Marie? Our next class is next Wednesday, guys. Yes, our next class on this YouTube thing. It's the same every week. It doesn't change. Class here on the YouTube stream, not going to school. You guys are so dramatic. You guys have me once a week. Oh, your next class in general, you would have to reach out to whichever subject teacher is on your list. If you look at your folders, you will see a schedule for each teacher and their tentative stream or Google Classroom time, as well as our office hours if you have any questions or concerns. You have the short reading comprehension packet that you can do on your own. That is something you can do at any point in time for homework or classwork. It is available for you to do at any point in time. The chapter packets from the textbook are the main thing that you want to wait on for the stream. That way we can discuss it together as a group. Yes, I'm always going to send the link, guys, to the streams before the class starts. I try to do it about 10, 15 minutes. That way, while I'm getting ready, you guys can start shuffling in, and hopefully everyone comes in. Elise Marie, that's a great response. He is good at telling different versions of himself. Gatsby kind of mastered that to be able to get to where he is and do what he does, as you'll find out later on in the story. All right, guys. I wish you the best of luck. Stay safe out there. Make sure you're practicing your social distancing, washing your hands, etc. Be safe and make sure you get your work done. I wish you guys the best of luck. If you guys need any help or extra resources, my office hour time is on the sheet that was given to you in your folder, and my phone number that I can be reached at, or the email. You guys already know I'm pretty good at responding to the emails. But have a great rest of your day and best of luck.